listening to Inclusive AF with Jackie Clayton and Katie Van Horn.
Hi, this is Katie Van Horn.
And this is Jackie Clayton.
And this is the Inclusive AF podcast. And my dog is currently running around the house stealing socks from everywhere. I don't know where she's coming up with all these socks, but they just keep showing up all over the place. Sorry, she just ran past with the sock. I don't know where she's getting them. I didn't know I had. Sorry. All right. So, hey, we are very excited today to have our friend George LaRoque joining us. George, I'm going to turn over to you and let you introduce yourself, share a little bit about yourself. And please also let us know if you have any animals that are completely out of control in your house too.
Well, it's good to talk to you both. It's good to see you both. Thanks for having me. And I'm George LaRocque, and I'm a market analyst and advisor. I've been in the market, as a practitioner and then a tech exec and now an analyst. And it's been a total of like 30 years. And so I've seen a lot, and I'm just excited to be here. And I go with he, him, they. So.
Awesome. Very cool.
And you forgot a good friend.
And yes, our friend.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a friend of ours. This was a person that we talked to, Jackie and I talk to quite often about technology in the HR space. And if you are anyone in HR who does not know George, you should go find him and meet him immediately because he knows all the things about all the technologies. So, George, would love to just start off. So you get to see all of the cool new trends within technology for HR folks. I'm not even going to go to the diversity route yet. I'm just going to start with what's the coolest technology you've seen recently?
Nobody asks me that, honestly. Like I get a lot of questions, and I don't get the cool. You think I get that more? Let's see. The coolest technology is probably, it can be cool and creepy, right? Like there's a lot of stuff out there that
it is HR. So yes.
Right. Like it uses like natural language processing in ways that listens to what you're doing and what you're typing. It nudges you in different directions. I've seen a few of those recently on the engagement and feedback side of things, and of course I'm blanking on names, but a few will come to me. I also like there's a whole there's like a renaissance going on around analytics. So there have been some new people analytics, talent analytics plays that are I think, more modern and that do a lot. Diversity and inclusion is one of the things that they would look at, but just being able to integrate more and bring not so much like a business intelligence platform for HR people, but more insights and packaged insights that they need. So there are tools like Talmetrics that is doing a lot around topics like that. And so, yeah, and there's so much there. Then on the recruiting side, I love marketplaces that are doing more than just matching jobs and people. So there was one out of Europe called Serenum that was really early on and just acquired by Bullhorn, and they do not just the job matching aspect of things, but like shift scheduling. So they had a big deployment with Amazon where the people that were hired became Serenum's employee of record, like a staffing firm. And then Amazon could, do shift scheduling and so forth. And I think that's so cool when that's, something new, something different in the model. And then bringing education and apprenticeships and things into the recruitment world, because we've got theoretically we've got talent supply issues and we need to, skill up the workforce. So I like things like that as well. And the Make School is one that I really like, who is more on the educational side of things, but I talk about them a lot.
I love that. That's a lot. That is, I'm glad to see that we're seeing innovation happening, because it seemed for a little while we were getting a little stagnant, of tools that like kind of did have a question mark behind it, like recruiting. Like, are you sure? I'm not really feeling that. Like, algorithms, that job matching ish kind of.
Yeah.
And then not being able to determine who they are or who they were. Like, what do we do? Are we a CRM? Are we a ATS light? Are we job matching? Like, what are we doing? And I'm glad to see that there's a little bit more innovation going on.
Yeah. And there's still plenty of confusion too. That's,
I'm sure
there's a lot of that. But, you're bringing Textio to mind, right? And, I talked about NLP for not necessarily good, but you've got AI and NLP for good. So, there's always, there's a lot happening out there, and a lot of cool stuff, and startups, scale ups. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Thank you for the shout out. Appreciate it.
Sure.
No agent at all.
Yeah. I was going to say, did you pay him?
No.
So I think like the reason why I asked the question of cool stuff is exactly Jackie's point. Like, I feel like there has been for a time period, just nothing really that was like, wow, this is something that we've not seen before, or this is something that, hasn't been accessible to HR. And part of the conversation that Jackie and I are always having, obviously, is about diversity, but I think it's also about creating that inclusion and making sure that, like, as you're thinking about your technology, how does it truly impact your people? And, what are the things that are touching your employees, not physically, but, whatever that interaction, whatever that touch point is. So what has been like, from an engagement perspective, have you seen anything, or what technology do you think about when people say to you employee engagement?
Well, I was just doing a presentation about this, and the thing about engagement is, like a lot of words, it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, right? So it used to be that engagement was pulse surveys and, measurement on sentiment and analytics. And now what I'm seeing are tools like, and well, you asked me what I think, and I think engagement is what's most important is that anyone, on the practitioner side, on the buyer side, is looking at what engagement they need, right? So if that's what they need, if they need to understand, they need to start with a benchmark and then, walk before they run, then that traditional definition works. Right now I'm seeing, and this is in many ways because of the pandemic and the push to hybrid and remote work, I'm seeing tools like Shaka and some others that make connections based on not based on engagement or a score, but personal interests. So, what used to happen when we were all in the office was we met people in a meeting and discovered that, oh, I'm going for a run too after work, or I'm going to have a drink, come with us, or, anything, right? Or, I have that kind of, I see you have a picture of your dog on your laptop. I've got one too. So how do you make connections like that in the remote world? And then what can that lead to? That's, those relationships then breed a lot of success on the professional side too, because I met so-and-so in marketing. I need to learn something about branding. I know who they are. I like them. I'm going to go ask them where I should go. And that's part of what is we're trying to replace. So I think I'm seeing a lot more engagement that's true, like person-to-person engagement happening or starting to emerge now. that's where a lot of the conversation is, and that's where some of the tech is as well. And then, tools like Spotlight, which launched last week, is a tool that is for the employee, and it's provided by the employer for the employee. The employee puts in goals like, I've got a health goal, I've got a financial goal, I've got a work goal, and it helps the employee balance those things with by entering what they accomplish. And it might nudge them if, hey, you said you wanted to spend, X hours with your family this week, and, did you, or, you didn't, that wasn't entered, or, and or it might be, you said you wanted to, finish that report this week for work. We didn't see that. So it's driven by the employee, because and I think those types of tools are and that engagement's becoming more employee forward or first.
I'm not emotionally prepared enough for that tool. It's kind of like my Apple Watch, where it's like, you literally haven't stood up in 5 hours. And I'm just like, stop judging me. I'm just like not prepared. It's like, have you spent any time with my husband? No. And that was on purpose. Thanks, software. Like, I'm not, but I find it like, you're right. But this being like hybrid, now it's like, we're trying to see if there's companies like us, where sometimes it feels like we're over transparent. Like, there's just so much information to learn that people don't want to do anything. They're like, I don't want to, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Like, awesome. So how do,
I've been on Zoom with you for 42 hours this week. I'm also, I don't want to do a virtual happy hour, but thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, no. And I think they're going to see that grow a little bit of different ways, because people are trying to figure it out. I like that it's driven by the employee, because we all have to figure that out and how to connect, how can we get the messages out in cross-functional relationships?
Yeah. I really value relationships that I make through my work, but it sounds like we have a lot in common, Jackie. I'm more like, my terms, my time. I anything forced, it's like it repels me, right? I back off. If it's not forced, then I dive in, and it's there's a balance there. And if I'm setting those terms, then it would work for me. But I just deleted an app yesterday because it kept asking me, how much did I walk today? And I'm like, just stop. I had really good intentions when I downloaded you, and
yes, there's another one. Don't you want to come back in and read? No, stop. That's why I'm not there. Yeah, a little too much.
I have Habit Hub and Todoist, and they have like the same things on and so every day I'm like, my phone is shaming me, literally shaming me
all day,
every day. Yeah. No. So, hey, I know that you go to a lot of conferences.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not recently, but some of them are opening back up. And so, I think, as we think about technology, and for practitioners that are in the market, or for practitioners that should, like, how do they find out more information about A, what conferences to go to? B, these are separate questions, so bear with me. Where to get more information about, so I'm in the market right now for multiple different things for my employees, because I'm setting up an entirely new culture, brand, etc. Where do I go to find out what those technologies are that would be really helpful for me as a practitioner as I'm setting up different things for my employees?
Yeah. So I would always start, number one, with your network, and your peers, the people, your friends, your work network, and go there first. And that's always the most popular source. I would also add to that, there's there's another group that you probably have access to, which is like the board, and a lot of times you'll find connections to technologies or to other companies that those board members sit on another board, and they've seen someone tackle a similar problem and maybe make some new connections for you there. At the same time, once you exhaust the network, I would go to my trusted industry groups, right? So there's the HR open source Facebook group, which is, just I moderate there, and there's just constant, hey, has anybody used this, or has anybody solved this problem with technology before? And in those environments, that one and like Talent Product Plays, another Facebook group, they're moderated so that there's not really any selling going on. So you're really just networking and getting info. After that, that's sort of the small network and the big network. When you start looking at tools like, LinkedIn and other, there you're set. I wouldn't go there until, or if you really need more information and you're ready to get sold to. But I would look at people like me, right? So analysts that are covering the space. And then I cover really the entire space. So for example, if it's something on the culture side, engagement side, I've spent a lot of time over there. So, and there are other folks as well, like Red Thread, who spend a lot of time there. And if you were doing some things on the core HR side, I can help you there. I would also look at Trish McFarlane at H3HR and ping her if it's talent acquisition and recruiting. It's Madeline Lorano at Aptitude Research. And, these are people that I would reach out to vet some of my perspective on things as well. And then you have your review sites, which I think are more of like a generic, for me, it's more research. Review sites can be gamed. So, if I'm a survey tool, I promote that I'd like my users to go and put in good reviews at this survey, this survey site, whether it's, was it G3 or some of the others. And so I think those are good for establishing the list of folks you might want to take a look at. And then from there, I would, it's the internet, right? So there's a ton of information out there. And then when you have specific companies that you might be interested in, it's not that hard to find people using those tools, using the sort of networks that I mentioned. I would do as much research like that, as much networking like that as possible before I engaged any resources at any vendors, and then come up with a list to pursue. But I was just writing about this. So you hit a vein of thought there.
I love all of those. Thank you for sharing all of those. And you're right. Unless you want to get sold, because I swear I'm getting attacked. I don't know who's part of the conspiracy, but I'm like, swear to God, reach out, email one more time and see. Like I can't. I have a standard message, but some of it's like, this is my 35th message. Are you available now? And you're just like, please stop. Please.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed those 34 messages I sent you. I just wanted to call your attention.
Wanted to bring this one to the top.
The 35th is going to be the tipping point. That's when you're going to go, yep, I'm ready now. Now I'm ready. I wasn't the other times.
I work at a software company, so I get it, right? So I try to be polite and do all the things, but then every once in a while, somebody will say, let me show you this tool. I'll take 15 minutes. And I'm like, okay. And I fall in love. That happened to me last week. And it was a product to help with offer letter. Like after you do the verbal, before you do the written, and I think it was called Complete. And I was like, this thing I love, because that's, especially when you're a startup, it's hard when you're trying to tell people like, this is the whole complete package. This is like all in. And what I found is it's so funny because you don't give yourself enough credit. You're like, oh, this is what the salary is. Oh, well, I work at this company. I want $1 million. And then you go through the conversation and you're like, oh, what are your benefits? And you're like, oh yeah, we pay for all of your benefits. What? I didn't know that. Right. So it's like making sure we get the message.
Yeah.
And I just fell in love. So I'm glad that you shared the ones that you are loving and seeing. But have you had any surprises like that where you're like, oh, your own bias was like, I know what this tool does. This is not going to be exciting. And then it just like knocked your socks off.
Yeah. I'm pretty jaded, so that happens quite a bit.
Anything new, you're like, woohoo!
Yeah, it's. I'm trying to think of who. I'll give you an example. Searchlight, which they're fairly new. They had like a Series A recently, and what they were talking about was assessments and references. And then when we got into the briefing and talking to one of the founders, the CTO on the product side, they're really like a reference killer. Like I was looking at it saying, wow, this is not just like a reference automation tool, because, this is more like doing something new with references using, behaviorals. The questions that I'm asking aren't just like, would you recommend this person? And would you hire them again? If that, the standard stuff that we've all done. And then using that as a benchmark. And then the other thing that they were doing, they have a whole intake process for their clients that really blew me away. And sometimes they were very proud of it, but I don't think they even realized like, this is really cool. Like the whole intake process of, creating a job and getting it all standardized across the organization and identifying, the skills and now I guess it's, power skills, not soft skills, power skills, identifying those. It was really slick. And there are a lot of times there are gems like that you find. And I think, sometimes the tech vendors are so close to what they're doing that they get excited too when you get excited. But yeah.
And I think one of our friends is over there now too. Lisa's doing some stuff for them.
Oh yeah.
Lisa Cervenka, right. Yes.
Right.
That's awesome. Right. Very cool. Very cool. So how do you, like, obviously you get approached, I'm sure, all the time, as Jackie was just kind of mentioning, I think we all get hit up by folks all the time wanting to engage and share what they're doing. How do you vet? Who do you talk to? Like, how do you decide, yes, I'm going to take this meeting, or yes, I'm going to look at this technology? How do you make that decision?
That's a good question. You're asking questions nobody asks, Katie. This is interesting. I end up looking at most of it. It's I don't want to be. There could be somebody trying to get a hold of me right now, and they have a great product, and I'm just hard to reach sometimes. So let me say that.
They're like, yeah.
But my focus these days is impact, right? So I'm not looking for. I'm not that interested in just another, ATS or just another CRM or just another, payroll provider. The bigger brands you have to take a look at to see what they're working on. But I'm looking for something. It usually jumps out, right at me when I look at their website or whatever they send me. I can see that. That they're one of two kinds of impact, right? There's impact like societal issue, impact. And in this day and age, I think if you're not putting employees first and thinking about how you can really impact culture and experience and, DE&I and so forth, then you're tone deaf. And then there's doing something so different that the impact on the business, it would be, substantial. And that's the harder one to achieve. But yeah, that's how I look at it. We have this accelerator for pre-seed startups, and it's hard to tell people, oh, you didn't make it. But a lot of the reasons people didn't make the first cohort was we saw a lot of you. We saw a lot of tech plays just like yours, and nothing really stood out. And you can tell that with a quick look at a pitch deck or a website.
Awesome. And so let's talk D&I.
Okay.
Tell me what your favorite product is right now in the D&I space, technology D&I space. So for those of you in this space, what George is going to say, you're going to either get a gold star right now or he's shut you out completely. So just be listening to what name. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. It does need to be one. I would love to know what are your favorites right now, or what have you seen recently that's kind of cool?
Or the most innovative.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to be really candid here, and I'm not disappointed in any of the DE&I tech that I've seen, but I'm just not seeing a lot of it, right? Like I track all the funding, and it's been a major disappointment. So you've got Handshake that raised a ton of money, and it's a camp, nothing against them. I know that they're impacting diversity and talent pools reportedly in a good way. Awesome. But it's a campus recruiting solution. And like, is it that innovative? Not on the surface. Nothing's jumping out at me there. I saw, the thing that I've started to realize, and I'm not a D&I expert, but I'm a tech person. And as I look at this, I'm realizing like the stuff that Greenhouse did, and they got a lot of input from Paradigm, and they embedded a lot of the problem. The issue is with the overall process and the bias and it's systemic, right? And it's at a system level. So you've got to do the hard work to try to change behaviors on small transactions. Like, why did you give that feedback? Why are you moving these candidates through the process and not others? The system has to be making people think. So I like that. And I like Textio, right? But what have I seen that's new? I mean, I liked, you mentioned Lisa, she was over with a company called Canaries. And I really like what they're doing. It's a combination of branding and connecting talent with companies, and it's also analytics. But there's a big part of that is you can't just throw technology at these issues. So there's a big part of it that's consulting or services. So I'm I saw that. I like that. That's an answer to your question. But a lot of what I'm seeing are it's point solutions, which is great. But I'm not seeing a lot of I'm not seeing a volume of these things. It's been a disappointment, because I would have expected a lot more, and there may be more coming, or it may be that it's because of the complexity of the problem. But I also think there's investors are putting their money elsewhere, and it's disappointing.
I agree with you. I appreciate that I appreciate your feedback, and that's the truth of the matter. When you're saying like, it's one of the things that I've said in the past, where you can't expect technology to solve a problem that a lack of technology didn't generate, right? Like this problem is systemic. It wasn't caused because we don't have the technology to move forward, It's not like going to space. This is like real stuff, and you can only do so much. Like, there's not, Katie doesn't like it when I cuss on the show, but I'm going to for just a minute. Like, when I used to tell clients, like, I can help you reduce your bias, but I can't make insert name here not be an asshole. Like that's a whole different thing. Ain't a technology in the world that's going to do that. Only his mama can do that.
Yeah.
And I love that you're telling the listeners, some of who know me very well, that I am calling you out on cussing. Because
no, on the show, not in general, because my kids are like, Auntie Katie's angry. Like,
Auntie Katie has a potty mouth, just a potty mouth. That's it. Yeah.
Right.
But yes, but yeah, I think that is the part that is truly disappointing, is because this is stuff that you can't necessarily solve with technology. And it is there are some things that we just need to figure out the people side of it. But I do think there are so many things that could be done. And when you talk about systems and tools and process, that's how we start to solve it too. Because I think, the example I give on pay equity, and I probably should stop giving this example, but Salesforce, you all know that in like 2013, 2014, they did this huge hullabaloo about, they did a pay equity analysis and it was millions of dollars, and they came up with the money, and wow, they were the champion because they did this and they brought all their women up to parity. And then 2 or 3 years later, they did another analysis and they were in the same boat because they hadn't changed anything behind it to say, hey, we're starting our women off lower than we're starting our men off when we hire them for the role. We're not looking at promotion. We're not looking at all these other things. And so it is like some of the stuff, it's just, hey, as HR folks, what are you putting in place to kind of, give your manager that flag that, hey, this person has been in the role for 4 years while all the rest of the team keeps getting promoted. And some of these things that there's so many tools that could be put into place and they just haven't been created. And how do we get that? How do we get folks there? How do we get folks to start thinking about some of that stuff? It's an issue.
Yeah. And, some of the sourcing tools, it's what's been interesting to me is they almost validate the point that you're making. So HireTool is now Hire Easy, Seek Out, and others have. It always sounds something like this. It's like our customers are telling us that we're helping with their metrics on diversity. We're doing such a great job. So we can help with that too. But and I'm not saying that there was no intent to address that problem, but it's about the people that are using it. And it's about, their intent, maybe more so than the tool. To your point, there are tools like HiredScore that have a mission around ethical AI and, and mitigating bias that also have great results too. So, but I think it's, it's got to be, it has to be a balance with the technology. And I think in the way that, I'm looking at this whole talent marketplace trend right now. And I am like the only person saying, yeah, I don't think HR is ready for that. Like there's so much complexity around like comp and compliance and, skills taxonomies and, technical skills, job skills, and power skills or soft skills or whatever we're calling them this week. And there's, and the goal seems to be a combination of retention and diversity and equity. And I'm saying, there are probably some things we could do with our talent management systems, with our onboarding systems, with our existing tools that
with an Excel spreadsheet. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Maybe. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a similar, it's that the whole thought that, to your point, I can't, you can surround an issue with technology, but you can't, you can't make someone, you can't change people.
Say the word, George. Say the word.
Can't make him not an asshole. Can't make him.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
2 cuss words in one episode, folks.
Oh my, the lightning.
It's party time.
Woo! Get out the cocktails.
You bring George on your show, and this is what happens. It all goes to heck in a
Hell in a
handbasket.
I have that reputation. Yeah.
But I do appreciate that sentiment. And I think a lot of the tools that you were talking about didn't start out trying to be those tools. They tried to market on some of those tools and then didn't know how to move that forward to understand the pieces that were going. And I think the sign for me was like when I was working at Seek Out, and then it's like, okay, well, we found the talent, so like, what's the problem? Like, I don't understand why this is a problem. And so it was like trying to analyze what's going through and then making those assessments and getting some of the numbers, and then looking at it. And I think part of it is like, it's scary for organizations. It's not scary for me and Katie, when you work in it, but it takes a long time to understand your own bias and also to know how to respond to that. But it's like this, for some people, it's the same reason why I won't move my refrigerator. Like, I don't want to see what's back there. I'm totally scared of what's back there. And so it's just going to stay there. Like, I'm going to move and I'm leaving the refrigerator.
I can tell you what's back there. Yeah. Part of your dog, because it's going to be like another whole dog behind there. I promise you, it's not great.
I'm not a hoarder. That's scary.
I didn't say you were, but I tell you, you have to move your fridge like every couple months, and every time it's not great.
Okay, I'll do that.
Anytime you have animals, yeah. This is where we go, George. On our
thanks for the tip.
We just put a new dishwasher in, so I get it. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
We did put a new dishwasher in. There was not a whole dog back there, but I think it was probably dirtier than I'm trying to look at my executive producer, Todd.
Get it together, Todd. Go take care of that. Move that fridge immediately. We'll wait right here.
Please don't. Please.
What is it called? Like in the news where they're like, oh, we're going to do an on-site special report behind Jackie's fridge.
I'll be like patient zero for something based on the fridge. Like, I'm leaving it
for
there.
Reals. Yeah.
I'm not.
George, what should folks know? So, just took on a new role. And so what should I know about technology that's out there right now? What are some things that would help me just to, as I'm vetting what I need? Like right now, I'm going to give you an example. We're using Gusto for our HRIS, Lever for our ATS. And I just came to the realization Gusto does not have any type of goal setting functionality. So now I need to figure out what to do for goal setting and tracking, and then like performance reviews. They do have a performance review tool in there, but I'm the jury's out on whether I like it or not.
Okay.
But goal setting, any tools that you know of that are great?
Are you committed to like, OKRs or, is that,
probably OKRs. Yes.
Yeah. So, Lattice, I see they come up a lot around, in OKR type shops, and they, tend to do pretty well with high growth, environments as well. Then, you've got, some companies, if you mentioned you're doing something around culture or engagement surveys as well. And Culture Amp had acquired Zugata, which does goal setting and performance. And they've got they had a light LMS in there too. And so there could be, like 2 for 1 in, over there. Then you've got companies one company that comes up a lot, I see them in those networks I'm talking about, is people love 15.5. And, that's an HR tech that wasn't built by HR tech people, right? So it was just all about goal setting and so forth. And now they're a little more, squarely in our space. And so those are 3 that I would take a look at. But if you do a search on goal setting and performance, you'll be overwhelmed. Like it's one of those areas that there are just so many, and they keep coming. So those are 3 that have been at it for a while. And integrate with other systems and have, success stories to talk about.
Awesome. See, this is why I'm friends with you, George, because I can call you and ask these types of questions and get the answer immediately. Folks, you've seen it live now. Now you all know what I do with George.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I forgot someone. I'm going to get when this goes out. I'm just waiting on the email now.
What about us? What about us?
Hand slap.
Yeah.
I will say I use Lattice. I love Lattice, by the way. Yes.
Okay, great. So yeah, George, what we'd like to do when we are wrapping up our conversations is to share one thing you want to make sure our audience learns, hears, has heard through this conversation. What's the takeaway? And we'll go around and share. We try to say one. Jackie never actually does that. She usually does 2 or 3. So it's kind of an open. What do you want folks to know about this?
Okay. Well, so lately I've had this thing. I'm telling people to look at their HR tech decisions like they're developing a risk profile for investments, right? So, what I mean by that is it's not just about the tech. It can also be about your process, right? So, I'm probably not going to go with a unheard of player to do my payroll. I probably don't want to risk that one, right? That's an easy example. But other examples might be, and to your point, goal setting is so important in my culture, to my company, or to my CEO or COO or whoever, or to me, that I really need to, have an established player with certain, core features that I'm comfortable with. And then you can start to look at interesting areas like, and I think it's important to always start with what's the outcome I want, and why is this outcome important to me, to the organization, and then create that profile, because it's a good thing to take a few, if I can put a targeted app or, what we used to call point solutions in an area and do something really cool with the way we engage candidates or onboard candidates. I think that's a place where you can start to innovate, and it may be a place where you need a shot in the arm around innovation. And so my whole thing is a combination of starting with outcomes and developing this sort of profile before so many people just go chase technology and, we need a recruiting tool. What's out there? Well, back up. And what do you need to replace, or what do you need to add to your mix, and what are you comfortable with? Because I think it's there's just so much incremental innovation that we need to be thinking about where that fits and where we can do something really cool. So I don't know if that's what you're looking for, but
yeah, no, yes, absolutely. Jackie, what you got?
So my whole thing is use the product that you have, whatever you make the investment in, use it 100%. I've worked at a lot of startup software companies, and what I've noticed is there's a reason for all the things. Try them, because a lot of times I've seen, speaking of goal setting, and it's like, wait, there's a goal setting in all 25 products that we already have. It just is called something else, like you're saying, it's OKRs in this one, and it's KPIs in this one, and it's like all of this, and whatever the machine is, use it. If you make the investment, use it, and use their customer success teams to help you through it. You are not alone. That's what drives me crazy. Become the expert on those tools.
Awesome.
Eat one thing, kind of.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did a phenomenal job. Mine would be use your network, because I think I am in this space right now as I'm growing the team and just trying to figure out, we have nothing. So like just HR functions in general. How do we do this? And it is all of the resources that you mentioned, all of the things that we just need to be helping each other. And I love the communities that have been built around that help. Like you said, keeping the sales pitch out of it. And yes, there's people on there that are definitely sales folks for these different tools, but they're very respectful of, here's what I can share with you that I know about the product, but it's not okay, I'm going to now email you 42 times. What did we say on the 35th? On the 35th time, that's when you're going to say yes. So just using your network, and that has been so helpful for me, even just in the last few weeks as I'm trying to get things up and running. So there you have it. So George, how do folks get a hold of you now that we kind of just outed you as the person to talk to about all things tech? How can folks find you?
You can go to oneworktech.com, and then all the links are there, or, the usuals. I'm on Twitter, LaRoque, and LinkedIn. You'll find me. There aren't a lot of LaRoques out there, so you'll find me, but oneworktech.com.
You're the one and only. Nobody else.
In this space.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, for taking the time. We truly appreciate it. This has been fun for us. And, as we continue to kind of think through technology, obviously, Jackie's fully in this space, but as we continue to, think about technology, this is helpful, and we'll continue to tap you as things come up. And definitely let us know if there's someone we should be talking to and bringing onto the show to introduce that to our audience. That'd be great too. So
sure. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So this is Katie Van Horn.
And this is Jackie Clayton.
That seemed a little weird.
I know,
that seemed a little off.
I got a popcorn kernel stuck okay, hold on. Jackie Clayton. Ooh, that
Perfect.
was nice.
Well done. All right, folks. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.